Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As always, if you are here, feel free to pop it in the chat. You know, your girl does not like to talk to herself, so I'm always happy to see you guys. Let me know where you are from. So today I just wanted to pop on a little bit and do a bit of a collective energy update for today, for this period of time we are in right now. So today is Wednesday, July 2nd. Hello, Carla from Indiana. So I've just been noticing that there are some themes that I'm seeing reoccurring. And so I kind of tapped into the collective energy to see if it's something that is more widespread. And sure enough, it is. So those of you who have been here for a while know that I do collective energy updates from time to time. There's not really any sort of regular cadence with them yet. It's usually just when I start noticing the patterns or patterning, if you feel me. So hello, Kat. It's Kat's birthday today. Oh my goodness, that's so exciting. Happy birthday, Kat. First of all, thank you so much for being here. And if you are new here, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you're into all things grounded spirituality, chaos magic, etc. Oh, April. Hello, April. Oh, I'm so glad to see you guys here today during this energy reading on Kat's birthday. So basically what I was noticing kind of on an individual level, and then also realizing it was more on a collective level, is that there is definitely a theme of a tower moment, y'all. So if this is something that is relatable for you or something that you have experienced, feel free to pop it in the chat. This is something that I am seeing almost every single place I look, is that things that were once working are no longer working. This is on the individual level. This is on the collective level. This is on our full consciousness. This is just all over the place. And it's something that's happening over and over. So, it seems like it is time collectively for some sort of pivot. Now, change is never comfortable, but when we're in a climate and a system and a world right now, like the way things are currently, where things are already kind of chaotic, it can be a little extra crazy to navigate. And so today in this video, we're just going to talk a little bit about, the energy of exposure, of, things being revealed, things being unveiled, and how that affects us on both an individual and collective level. We're going to talk about how systems are collapsing pretty much across the board, again, on an individual level and a collective level, how it's been playing out in pop culture, how it's been playing out in the large, wide scale of the world, and how we can kind of navigate these energies to keep ourselves safe, to keep ourselves sane, and to keep ourselves as stable as we can be. Now, when it comes to stability, I'm one of these people that kind of believes we don't always we are not always entitled to stability. And one of the greatest things we can do, both on a spiritual path and on an individual level for mental health or for personal growth, is to be able to learn how to navigate instability. Because if we sit around waiting for things to be stable, have fun. Good luck with that. And so we have someone in the chat here saying, yes, I've been seeing it on a large scale and in my life. Now, I'm not an astrology girly, but I know that the astrology girlies out there are very much talking about how there's very real astrological reasons why this may be happening. But it is certainly something that is being felt in every area of life, right? And so in my last energy reading, we talked a little bit about how do you navigate a world when what you see is not necessarily what is truth, right? How do you navigate a world where there are so many illusions that kind of govern the way that we do things, govern the way that we operate, and govern the way that we see the world? How do you navigate a space when you can't tell what is truth and what is fiction? And more importantly, all the stuff in between, right? Because truth and fiction is really just a matter of bias to some degree. In the beginning of the year, so I did an energy update for 2025. This was way back in the beginning of the year. And it was all about that theme of that multiple things can be true at the same time. And a person's ability to be able to recognize that and navigate that is really going to dictate their experience of reality. And I say that because reality is experiential, right? Like it's, what you believe, what you think is true or not true really doesn't make a difference when it comes to your experience of life. Like, how does this feel? How is this going to play out for you in your actual felt experience of life. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. Now, as always, feel free to pop in the chat if you have any thoughts or anything. I love talking to you guys. That's why I like lives, you guys. First of all, it keeps me honest because I don't have to try and like say a script or anything like that. I can just kind of channel out what comes through, let it come through, which is really the best way to do these sorts of readings. But I like to bounce off you guys and see how you guys are feeling. So today, how is everybody doing today? I know for me, I had a really kind of fun morning. Shout out to Concrete Shamanism, who was using my deck, the Witchcraft Therapy Oracle, in their daily reading. So it was really cool for me. I woke up at 5 a.m. so I could see that reading because I rarely get to see my publishing works in action. And that was just really very cool for me. So if you are here, if you're watching this, or if you're watching this on replay, are you experiencing a period that feels like a tower moment? Are there things in your life or in your world that were once working that are no longer working? And if so, how is that affecting you? How is that feeling for you? So I know for me personally, definitely in my work, I am seeing it. I'm seeing it with other people who are in my industry. I'm seeing it really on a pop culture level as well. Where we're looking at things, there's even if you look at celebrities, there are people who are canceling tours, who are like taking breaks, who are expressing how they're feeling burnt out. Like a lot of these illusions that we once had about the way things work, now we can all see beyond the veil. It's kind of like Wizard of Oz, when you can see the man behind the curtain. When you can see how the sausage is made, you no longer want to eat the sausage. You know what I'm saying? And so basically, we're seeing these signals of, power systems, things that we once trusted, things that once were kind of held up as representing certain things. We're seeing all of the illusions crumbling away from that. This is from governmental levels and societal levels to like the Diddy trial, to like every single one of us that is trying to navigate our own lives, our own relationships, things that once worked, seeing that they are no longer working. Now, if you are a person who is good at navigating instability, so if you're a person who really has done that deprogramming work to embrace imperfection and things like that, you're probably going to be a little more suited to be able to handle this. If you have grown up navigating chaos, so I'm definitely a person who would fit into this camp. I don't think I have more stability in my life now than I ever did in my entire life. So for me, chaos and instability is to some degree a reluctant zone of comfort. And what I mean by that is that it does not feel fun. It does not feel, pleasant, but I mean, I have been a teenager who was homeless. I have been hooked on drugs. I have been in psych wards, blah, blah, blah. So when it comes to life kind of being unstable, I don't really get too spoiled and petulant about it. Although I will say in the last few years of being used to more stability, I'm definitely kicking and screaming along the way. And it's funny because a lot of us that have that in our history, have that in our past, we kind of see it as a detriment. We're like, I'm broken. Things never went right for me, blah, blah, blah. When really this is one of the most protective mechanisms you can actually have in your life, to be fair, is the ability to navigate chaos. So in my book, Feral Self-Care, I talk about weaving chaos being a part of feral self-care, because none of us are promised safety. Any illusion we have that things are going to be stable, secure, safe, whatever, that's all it is. It's illusion. It's bullshit, right? And, here on this channel, we don't like bullshit. So I'm just going to look in the chat here. We are for sure living in tower times, but the star comes next. So I'm trying to remain hopeful. Yes. And this is part of it, right? Is that we all have to have, when you look at the fact that the way that the individual and the collective kind of intersect with the fact that we are all little raindrops in the ocean of the collective, it means that we do have to some degree, hold our frequency and hold our ability to be able to navigate things in order to make impacts on the collective in a bigger way. So I believe, obviously, if you're here for a while, you'll know this, but I believe in things like optimism. I believe that hope is rebellious. I believe that I think it's a skill to be able to look past all the red flags of what's happening currently and look into the unlimited possibilities of the future. And I think that we all need to do that to some degree. So for example, right now there are a lot of systems collapsing. For example, economic shifts. I think that most of us out here, unless we're like Jeff Bezos, are out here kind of noticing the fact that there's a lot of economic shifting happening, right? So there's people who are having to leave their careers. There are people who are being laid off. There are businesses that are folding. There's this thing where things that were kind of working, ticking away, kind of operating in the background with like a low level of effort are now all of a sudden becoming things where it's like, if you do not pivot, if you do not tap into your energy, if you do not tap into what is and is not serving, your experience of this time is going to be impacted by that, right? Also, looking at things like tech, AI, that sort of thing. Again, we've talked about this before, but like, what do you believe when the things in front of your eyes and ears maybe are not necessarily accurate reflections of reality? And something that people don't talk about enough is that when it comes to human psychology, this is like a fairly big leap in our world, in our reality. So, for so many years we were like navigating the plains and like hunter and gathering and all of that, and now all of a sudden in pretty rapid amount of time we've been in a world where our evolutionary ability to be able to trust what we see, what we hear, the support of groups, the support of systems like power structures, having that be decaying and collapsing in such a rapid period of time, literally within a matter of years, not even a matter of a span of one human lifetime, within a matter of years, has created a situation where, it's very disorienting for the individual and it's very disorienting for us as a collective. Um, so looking at things like mental health crises, right? Looking at things like healthcare, that sort of thing. I feel like we're in a point where it's like we live in this context where it's like push, 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 push. Like you just got to push more. You just got to work harder. You got to be more productive. You got to do that. And I think it's becoming very obvious and very apparent and very hard to ignore that this is also an illusion and this is not true. We only have a limited amount of time here in this life experience, and it's at a certain point when you see it, you can't unsee it. So what do you do with that information? How do you pivot and how do you adjust? So essentially we're seeing the full crumbling and collapse of like false authority systems, outdated systems, and collective gaslighting. So our societal programming that tells us if you do XYZ thing, you're going to get XYZ result, and all of us basically calling bullshit on that, right? So what do you do with that? Now, one thing is to be able to really tap into your system and tap into your inner guidance and your body, right? So your body, your energy, it's not going to lie. Like the world, the way things are right now is literally making people sick. And so again, if you're not able to kind of readjust and pivot, and this is like the theme of this collective energy update, is that it is time for a pivot on all levels. And sometimes paradoxical pivots that may not feel like they make sense. Now the positive thing about this is that no change really ever comes easy, right? I think that we have these ideas that we want things to change, but we have this idea that like there's going to be some clear, linear sort of way that this is going to happen in an orderly fashion. And I think that that is a beautiful fantasy. But when it comes to systems of human beings, even if you look at a lineup to get into a movie theater or something, we are not clear and orderly. We do not cooperate. Things are kind of not really that stable. So when we think of the level of shifting and the level of pivoting that we all need, it's going to require some chaos, and it's going to require a level of chaos that is deeply uncomfortable for some people. And so it's going to cause people to really grasp and hold on to these illusions even harder, right? So that is something. Another way that we can see it really is on the internet, right? There's a lot of people that are all of a sudden recognizing how this is no longer serving, right? How this is never really served in the first place, but it's being harder to, when we look at all of these systems, all of these things, it gets harder to outweigh the negatives to the positives, if that kind of makes sense. So it seems like it is a collective kind of scorched earth energy that is desperately needed, but at the same time, navigating that on an individual level, whether it comes to, running your business or trying to chase your dreams or trying to go to work or trying to survive and take care of your family, that sort of thing, it becomes something that is a little bit harder. So when it comes to maybe personal relationships, outgrowing certain relationships, having family dynamics collapse and fall apart. Because again, if we're at this point where things are at this level where things feel so unstable, that really has an impact on relationships as well. That really has an impact on how we relate to one another. And it can cause us in those cases to really gaslight our own intuition, right? It can cause us to have that disconnection from ourselves, which I think we've all like on to some degree cultivated for such a long time. So I think that people who are on like some sort of spiritual awakening or kind of inner work personal development journey again are going to have a bit of a leg up because we're having that experience of just really kind of failing forward and letting things crash and burn and then readjusting and navigating after. Hopefully that is making sense to you guys. Shout out to everybody who is here. Feel free to like this video. It's so helpful for me. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel, y'all. So we are all being called both on an individual and a collective level to abandon identities that are not actually serving us, to turn away from the same old where we can kind of on some level operate on autopilot and just kind of trust that like things are going to get taken care of as they are and go, no, actually, this is my life. So how am I going to adjust to this change? What does my day-to-day look like? What am I doing with my energy? What am I paying attention to? What am I funneling my energy into? And what are my goals? Are they still my goals? I mean, a lot of us have had the experience of reaching and getting everything you ever wanted and then going, well, what the fuck is this? Like, is this it? Right. And that is because there's not that sort of like internal shift and internal change. So just popping into the chat here, and feel free to pop in the chat if you have any thoughts about this. I don't fear the Cat is saying, I don't fear the tower. I love the chaos from radical change. Yes. And that's, that is a protective mechanism. And that's something that is definitely going to serve you. So chaos was my norm for more years than I care to admit. Yes. But again, I see that as a protective mechanism. I think that is something that is going to wrap you up in bubble wrap so that the next period of instability and chaos and growth, which is something we're experiencing right now, is going to be a lot easier for you to navigate. Okay. Absolutely, it's in my work and I'm very much trying to keep up. Yes, that's kind of what prompted this. Is I'm feeling it as well. I mean, gosh, it's funny, 8 days out of a week 8 days out of 7, I think of just like burning everything down and being like, is this what I'm wanting to be doing? Is this like, is there any point in this? Because things are changing so rapidly. But what that's saying is basically that you need to pivot, you need to readjust, and you need to be able to find a way to surf it out and ride the wave, right? So there's this anxiety that can happen in these times of instability that is really this anxiety because we can feel that there's a disconnect between what we say we want, living in integrity with what we say we want, and then also looking at what we're doing and noticing whether or not it's actually on the same level. Is it congruent, right? So I've talked about this before, but it's really important that if we state that we want things, if we say that this is our desire, that we actually pay attention if it's fucking congruent with the things we're actually doing. Otherwise, we're lying to ourselves every day and we are going to feel the impacts of that. Which is the thing we're seeing on the collective level as well, is that we're being told one thing. It's being, whether it's celebrity culture or whatever else, we're being shown that, oh, if you work hard and you do all the things, you're going to get this, or, oh, like this is the paragon of virtue and this is this and this is that. And we're looking at that and we're calling bullshit on all of it, which is leading to this state of kind of like, what do you believe? And you have to turn towards your inner compass, because ultimately it's the only thing that you know is only going to be full of your own gunk, your own programming, your own bullshit. So comment here is saying, I credit EMDR for my state of my mind now. Love that. A lot of work on yourself. Love that. Chaos was my history, but it helps me navigate life now. Yes. And yes, power system structures, illusions are collapsing because they're not serving us. And that is the way it should be. But again, we tend to have this idea that it's going to happen calmly, and it's Absolutely not. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I can't even like you can't even move your house without a fair amount of chaos, right? You can't switch a job without a fair amount of chaos. You can't even change your mind about what you're going to do that night with a little bit of chaos, right? So this is just something that is going to happen. Now, signs that you're not living in congruence are signs that it's time for a pivot and that things actually need a forced collapse, which sometimes you have to take an intentional sledgehammer to things, okay? Just like a little side note there. Sometimes things are collapsing around us because we need to be participating in that collapse and we need to co-sign it to some degree and be like, actually, yeah, fuck this shit, like maybe I need to help burn it down as well so that we can move more quickly into the next version of reality. So you might be feeling your body systems, migraines, things like fatigue, digestive issues. Like it feels like there is so much happening on this collective scale. But I mean, to be clear, the only difference I would say right now is that, differences in the world and differences in the dissemination of information. But I will say it has never been a calm and orderly time to be a human being. Like that just doesn't make any sense. When you look at the history of the world and the things that are going on all over the world, that we didn't necessarily have this portal and this window into to feel so connected in such a big way. But it really tapping into your nervous system and recognizing that, if we are feeling some type of way about these things, it's our indicator that shit needs to get fucked up a little bit. We need this shit to be shaken up. So when it comes to an individual level and trying to make these pivots on your own, it's really recognizing the difference between your inner self-sabotage and limiting beliefs, and then the part of you that recognizes that there's this rebellious desire for things to change. So it's really being able to identify old programming that might be keeping you in a frequency or a level of safety, and being able to say, having that part of you going, you're crazy if you do this. Like, why would you pivot in this way? This has always been safe. Well, if shit's not working, it's not working. And that's just the way it is, whether it's personal relationship, a work thing, or things that we are buying into on a collective level. So we have to be able to, on some degree, slow down, tap in, and be like, what the fuck is this? Like, how do I feel about this? If I'm not on the internet, if I'm not watching TV, if I'm not talking to other people, if I'm not in like-minded groups, if I'm not blah, 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 being able to slow down, pause, tap in, and be like, okay, how do I feel about this? Like, how is this impacting me? And what direction do I want to go in? Tower moments, calls to pivots, things collapsing. These are beautiful opportunities. They are thresholds, they are doorways, they are road opening spells in real time. And so we can either continue to block it by clinging to a safety that, again, is another illusion. It no longer exists. Or we can decide to recalibrate, tap into what feels true for us, and readjust accordingly. So let me know what you guys think about that. Shout out to everybody here. Again, feel free to like this video, subscribe if you're not here already. So we're at a point where both on an individual and a collective level, we need to be able to tap into our inner soul's calling, our inner frequency, and be able to, number one, navigate the truth of multiple things being true at the same time, even if we don't fucking like it, especially if we don't fucking like it. Because again, part of our reality right now, and the reason it's so fucked, is because people are so divided. There's no common ground, and everyone thinks that their truth is truth, and that just causes these illusions to tower up and shore up even more on both sides, while people are really struggling with something to cling to. But you can't cling to an illusion. So people are really stuck in a state of, survival, right? Versus sovereignty. So again, it requires us to have a level of self-connection that I think, if you're watching this channel and if you're here and if you're in my world at all, I would say that that's probably something you already are a little bit ahead on. But a lot of people do not have that. So how do you hold your frequency when that's the reality, right? How do you continue when that's um, something that can feel very muddy and very unclear? So ultimately, when it comes to these pivots and these collapses, is you're going to have to trust your inner guidance. You're going to have to say, okay, what are the things that I want? What are my values? What feels congruent with me? And am I living that truth? Am I living that reality? Trying to navigate that accordingly. So ultimately, when it comes to these kinds of pivots, they tend to have a cost, and that cost is comfort. That cost is, again, letting go of things that worked before, recognizing that they're not working now. But like, it requires a bit of trial and error, which not a lot of people are very comfortable with. It requires, again, failing forward, right? This idea that you can just keep it moving, keep trying, and not be fearful, not be stuck in this space of worrying what's going to happen next. Because ultimately, most of the time when we know, quote unquote, know what's going to happen next, that's an illusion itself as well. So but staying and remaining the way things are is not going to be helpful. That's just like across the board. That's whether this is collective or whether it's just in your life. So is anybody here navigating some sort of pivot or some sort of change? Is this something that you're seeing play out for yourself? It really is interesting when you tap in to feel how this is happening almost at every level, every stage of the game. And there really is this kind of desperate clinging, right? Where it's like, well, this worked before, and well, this feels safe, and well, this, and it's like, well, it's kind of like that saying, like, facts don't care about your feelings, right? So if things are not working, you got to learn how to, if the tide is rising, you got to learn how to swim with it. You got to learn how to rise to meet it. And so it really requires a level of discernment. And we've talked about discernment lots on this channel because it is something that is missing for the most degree. A level of discernment that can feel deeply uncomfortable. And it requires some, I guess you could say, leaps of faith on some level to be able to recognize and see that things may not be what they appear, and they may not be um, what we have been sold, even if we bought it or not, might not be the full truth, the full reality. And that really takes you to another conversation of what is truth to begin with. So, fatigue for my hubby and I, definitely, we are feeling it. Yes. And myself as well, right? Like, again, there's plenty of times where I've been going, you know what the fuck am I actually doing? I'm definitely in a tower moment right now of what am I doing? And it feels like there's no safety net. It feels like there's, it requires us to not only, I think people think that you have to have this clear vision of what's going to happen in the future. And of course, clarity is good. But really, all you have to do, if you don't even have that, is put your foot out and just trust that something is going to be beneath it. Something different than where you're at now. Trouble sleeping and extra fatigue. Yes, same here. So this is something that is happening collectively and for the individual. So yeah, I find it interesting, of course, how we can see it in pop culture. So how we can see that there's certain things that we thought were true. There are certain things that it seemed okay, or certain things we didn't know about. And then the more we're seeing how the sausage is made, the more it's like, oh no, like, I feel like you could tend to think that people who are rich, or people who have it made, have it figured out, and maybe things are easier for them. And like, the truth is absolutely not. Like, there's so much drama in every circle, because that's life and that's part of being human, right? So your ability to roll with it and navigate it is really going to be the, is really going to dictate how that feels for you and how that works for you. So ultimately, the guidance right now is just to be discerning, to be able to sit with the truth, the multiple things being true at the same time, being able to ask yourself, if something feels off, trust that and listen to that, and be like, try and get to the bottom of that. Like, why does it feel off? How is it out of alignment? How is it out of integrity with the things that you're wanting, with the things that you're trying to create? Like, and is there a way that feels better, that you feel more pulled to, more called to? I think I'm a little bit lucky, as I don't know if there's any human design people here, but I'm a manifesting generator. So for me, my strategy is to respond to things, and I really, things that light me up are going to be my next phase of where I'm going to go. That being said, you can't always just chase everything that lights you up. So there's a little bit of internal there's like a little bit of an internal battle there between, like, how do I move towards the next thing that feels good when you actually do need some degree of safety, that sort of thing. So if you know your human design, that can help a little bit with navigating these sorts of energies. And if you don't, y'all know who to get a reading from, your girl here. So these are sort of the things that we need to turn to. So, meditation, like deepening your self-care practices, being able to tap in, and reevaluate. I think a lot of us, I talk about it in my books a lot, but like, I think a lot of us strive for things and we strive for goals. And then sometimes along the way, we forget to readjust and tap into ourselves again and go, is this going the way I wanted? Is this what I actually wanted? Is this playing out the way that I thought? Or am I just striving for an outdated goal? Like we always have to kind of reevaluate and excavate the things that we think we want, to recognize if we were chasing an illusion ourselves, chasing a fantasy. So Kat is saying, I'm pivoting in my career, figuring out what I'm passionate about and pursuing it instead of being in survival mode like I had been. Yes, yes. And I love that. And that's such a beautiful thing to do. And it requires a level of trust that's deeply uncomfortable in a world that really feels like it's not supportive for us. So that's amazing. Okay, if anybody has any questions or any thoughts, feel free to pop it in the chat. If you're here, like this video, please. It's so helpful for my baby channel, you guys. You know what's crazy? I just got like a notification the other day that I've been on YouTube for 4 years, but I've only actually been focusing on YouTube for the last like month or two. By the way, I love it. I'm an Instagram refugee and Instagram can suck my arse. Because ultimately, when it comes to actually, that's a really good example. I've been personally struggling because in my work, because I mean I had built my platforms on Instagram and things like that, and it's kind of like now that platform, people are there to be hypnotized, people are not engaged, people are not like trying to get any sort of connection or anything there. It feels like it's just an uphill battle, and yet I keep doing the same thing. What is that quote? Like definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I would be insane by that and many other definitions of insanity for sure, 1,000%, right? But it's just because it's doing what's comfortable, it's doing things on autopilot, it's doing all of these different things. And you know, my husband kind of had a come to Jesus moment with me where he was like, okay, if it's not working, do something different. And to me, moving to YouTube felt so scary because I can't really afford for, you know, like I love what I do, my business, and I would love to continue to be able to do it. So it's kind of hard to start over to some degree without it feeling very deeply unsafe. But how safe does it feel to be participating in a system or something that is not working for you? So this is what we're seeing on a collective level as well. April is saying, I like the lives over here better than Instagram too. Notifications are always late on Instagram. Yeah, Instagram is, I feel like that's just where we all go to check out, honestly. And it's so sad because I used to love connecting with people on there. And now it feels, and even myself as a user, it's like, what are you doing? Well, you're going there to be entertained. So why am I still banging up against that wall? So there's that sort of thing. That's like a small example in my own life of like what's been happening. And it's funny because I've been talking to a lot of my friends who are creatives, who are business owners, things like that, and they're having the same thing. They're going, oh my God, I need to pivot, things need to change, things need to pivot. And it's crazy that we're seeing it on a, you know, societal protest, like all of these different chaotic systems. We're seeing it on that level, and then also on the level of the individual. Now when I look at the collective, I can easily say, well, I feel like more people need to tap into their soul. More people need to be soul connected, tap into spirit, that sort of thing. That might help, shift the tide of what's happening there. But in order for that to happen, the change starts at home. Like we got food at home, the change we're seeking starts at home. So we need to all kind of be doing that on some level, on a personal level, which really does require us to be able to go, oh my God, like this is making me sick. The way I'm operating is making me sick. This idea I have of safety is really just like my comfort zone in a trench coat. Like, why am I doing this? Why are we doing this? And it's crazy for me personally because I work with creatives. I work with people one-to-one. I do sessions with people. I do guidance with people. And this is the advice that I give them, but it's always a really beautiful, loving, vibe check when I look at my own life and I go, oh, when you start getting advised by your own advice and you're like, what the fuck is happening here? So it's definitely that sort of situation. So if you guys have any thoughts, feel free to pop it in the chat. If you are watching this on replay, let me know your thoughts. I love chatting with you guys. I love seeing your comments and seeing your thoughts because it's just so helpful. And I love just seeing how people are navigating this sort of stuff in their own lives when they're going through it as well. But ultimately, like the guidance moving forward, tap into yourself, listen to your body, listen to your spirit, recognize that your comfort zone is probably not going to be the medicine you need for the things that are happening, both individually and collectively. And then being able to reflect and really notice what is happening, what's serving you, what is not serving you, and where these shifts or pivots need to be made in order for things to be good. Now, this can be hard if you're outgrowing partners, if you're outgrowing family dynamics, if you're getting intuitive no's, but you really are in a state of survival where you feel like you have to cling to things because of fear. This is something I don't see people talk about a lot, certainly in the spiritual manifesting world, is this idea that, like, of course we'd all love to be able to leap and hope that the universe, carries us. But like people have very real reasons to be in survival mode and very real reasons to cling to things for too long, even if they're not serving them, out of a space of fear. And this is where I think spirituality and stuff gets it wrong, is that this is not a moral failure. This isn't something that is like, oh, people are just like not trusting the universe enough. Like, get the fuck out of here, right? This is the sort of thing that, there are very real reasons to do that, practical reasons to do that. And that's just life. That's just part of it, right? Okay. So now, guys, just letting you guys know, I think there's like 5 days left to join the Feral Self-Care Collective. This is 12 weeks of guided practices, tools, and experiences from myself and a variety of guest speakers. So if y'all like crazy, sweary Canadian ladies, if you like doing artsy stuff, we've got sessions on like the opening the Akashic Records. We have sessions on psychic divination. I have 6 guest speakers, you guys. And again, I love what I do, and I would love to be able to continue to do it. This thing has really been a vibe check for me because every single week I have a consistent thing to do for my practice to become more self-connected and spiritually tapped in, despite the clusterfuck out there. Okay, guys? So if you are interested in that, I have a link down below. Also, I have some freebies down there. There's my Feral Self-Care Toolkit, which is a guided meditation to awaken your wild, and then also 3 like quickie guided practices. So make sure you get on my email list, you guys. So yeah, and join the collective. I've also started I have 2 spots left for energy reading paintings, you guys. I'm going to do a video on that soon because I love my process, but it's crazy. Starting to open up to that has been a real trip. So for me, some of you guys know my mental health history and the fact that, I have been hospitalized for seeing and hearing things that are not there. And it's been such a beautiful reclamation for myself personally to be able to offer energy readings and be able to accept my gifts despite how much the world tried to tell me I was fucked for them. But you know what? Honestly, I think the world's fucked. So, you judge me, I'll judge you. So there's 2 spots left for energy reading paintings. These are intuitively channeled paintings, that I create based on the colors, the aura colors, and the energy centers I see in your field. I give you like guidance. There's a human design brief in there if you're into human design. My sessions are open and on sale, you guys. I've got like 3-month packages on sale. So yeah, come and work with me, y'all. Come and work with me, y'all. And again, shout out to Concrete Shamanism, who was using my deck this morning to do their morning reading. So grateful for that. They have a book that they released yesterday. So excited for them. Shout out to them. And as always, feel free to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share if you feel called to do so, you guys. It's been so crazy trying to grow here on YouTube and try to learn YouTube because I'm so new to this platform. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, y'all. Like, you guys are getting to watch in real time. So anybody that, is interested in creative coaching, you're actually watching me in real time, failing forward, just doing the things, even though I don't know what I'm doing. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching this energy update. I'm going to try to be going live a few times a week, doing card pulls, energy updates, that sort of thing. So I'm just kind of testing out this time right now. So let me me know what you think of the time. But feel free to subscribe. And I love you guys all so much. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope you have a wonderful birthday, Kat. And everybody else has a wonderful day. Bye.